What's up, man? Let's see. It's just me and John today.
Yep.
Brave Cities podcast. I would say we're on probably episode 70-ish, wouldn't you?
Oh, in total?
No, 60-ish. We're on episode like
Yeah. We're getting up there. I don't.
60-ish.
I'd have to do some math. I don't know.
And we have had the amazing delight this year of what we're calling the Desi sessions. Desi's been on with us quite a bit.
It's been great.
Uh, our dear friend and mentor and um, bud from Globe, Arizona, Desmond Baker, also known as Desi Baker, also known as the Mystic in the Desert. Um, he couldn't make it today, and we decided to go ahead and just jump on and have a conversation. We were talking this week about all kind of things. I think we were talking about political agendas within faith structures, which is just gross. We were talking about, I think we landed on entitlement, and you said something that intrigued me. You were like,
Well,
what do we really deserve, or something like that. So we
I'm glad.
decided we're
I'm
going to
glad
talk
you're.
about that.
I'm glad you're game to chew on that. I've been chewing on this now for a little bit, honestly. So okay, let me like as a way of introducing this concept. I think so. One of the things in terms of just being I don't know, an intuitive person, right? I try to pay attention to things inside of myself that I notice like these reactions, like a gut level reaction that maybe I don't have words for, or I don't know why I'm having this reaction, but I want to pay attention to that part of myself because I've learned to trust it over time. Not that I think it's always a right thing, but it's something I need to, it's right that I listen to whatever's reacting in me. And I started noticing, actually, I've noticed this for a long time, but just recently, for whatever reason, I wanted to try to say it out loud. And I realized I didn't have words for this. But I noticed that almost every single time I hear the word deserve, in just about every context, something in me recoils. Something in me like flinches or whatever. There's something happening in my gut. And I'm like, I wonder what that is. And it's like I don't like it. Right.
Hmm.
So I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna I'm taking a few days to chill this weekend. And someone's like, that's awesome, you deserve that. Which by the way is a fine and kind sentiment. But something in me goes, deserve, I don't know about all that. I don't know about
Mm.
all that. Maybe I need it. You know what I mean? Maybe I, but and then I'm like, so I started trying to talk through this with a friend, and I was like, what is that? Because and then I realized as I was saying that, I was like, the one place that I feel like I don't recoil, and this is just a data point to jump off. I'm like, if someone says you deserve to get punched in the mouth, right? So like I was like, well, that no, sometimes someone deserves to get punched in the mouth. Like, and I was like, so wait a minute, that's interesting because that seems like it's tied to accountability or responsibility. And so, and I've thought a lot about this, but I don't want to say too much up front because I want to hear you reacting to this. But I was like, hey, what's the difference there? And what is it in me and I think I'll just say like it seems to imply something like the idea of deserving seems to imply like something like a cosmic like scales or a some kind of scorekeeping like I merit this time, I merit, you deserve a treat. And it's like you might deserve a punch in the mouth actually, like and do I want what I deserve? And I don't think this is just based on some like theology of sin or something like that. I'm saying like, no, I'm actually just in the day to day bothered. I'm sure. Is there
Yeah,
enough here to
because
start
that's
riffing
the,
on, exploring?
I don't know yet. I mean, I'm recoiling because I'm recoiling from the, you know, kind of traditional
Yeah,
reformed position
it
of
resembles this, right?
mercy is that which you getting that which you not getting that which you do deserve, and grace is getting that which you do not deserve. And if you're familiar with the writings of men like Luther, you're familiar with constantly being referred to as worms or
Yeah, 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 yeah.
destitute
Yep.
or only deserving of hell, none of which I believe. I believe that, you know, human beings are wonderfully and fearfully made, and everyone should be looked upon. Even to the, I've even tried to create my own theology at times because I despise certain people so much. I'll go, oh, they're demons. They're not
I
humans.
think it's the origin of a lot of people's
I'll,
theology,
I'll
probably.
just go, I'll just go, oh, that's not, Hitler's not a human. He was a demon. And so
Mhm.
I can hate him. Because what kind of is rooted in me is that every image bearer is a prize, is worthy of wonder.
Okay,
And
this is great.
so that's there's some recoil there for me. And look, we're all pendulum swingers, so I get it. Like, I'm probably gonna continue to do this my whole
Sure,
life, and
sure.
then hopefully at some point, I'll find that center narrow road. But so that's where my mind is going at first. The conversation of deserve immediately brings about the idea of entitlement.
Yes.
Um, and I go back and forth, man. The sexy orthodox response is we all deserve death and we should live every day grateful that we're not being slaughtered by a righteous God, or at least cast out into eternal conscious
Utter
torment.
darkness where there's weeping and
Yeah,
gnashing of teeth.
yeah. I think that there's a nuance here that it might take a 45-minute conversation to scratch the surface.
What I want to.
But you know, I have children that I really care about.
Hmm.
You know that because every time you call me, I tend to say something about my kids. And I just have never been able to accept that I'm a better father than our creator.
Mm.
Um, and so I can't accept either that my love and my grace and my desire for and wonder of them, like my wonder over their existence, supersedes or exceeds that of my creator. Again, the traditional orthodox response is, uh yes, his love exceeds our love, but his wrath also exceeds our wrath. There's a big problem with that thought, and it's called Christ and the cross. And so that kind of gets in the way of that idea. So hopefully those are enough Roman numerals or bullet points that we can riff on. I don't really know where your mind is with the entitlement and the deserve conversation, but
Well,
hopefully it somehow bends and winds back to Jesus in the kingdom. I assume it does.
this is all the fodder that's been because I recognize the resemblance, the thing you're reacting to. I'm like, no, 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 same. But then on the flip side, then and even as you're talking about like humans are worthy of wonder and dignity and love and so then I would say, well, that's interesting. Um, let's say like you are um, it brings up the question of rights. Like let's say
Mhm.
human rights. Okay? And then I would say like and then how does that so let's say I don't know, what's a right? Like I would say like give me something very simple that humans have a right to. Let's say water. Is that fair?
Mhm.
We at least agree on that. Like,
I don't know that I agree with that, but
well, no,
yes.
no, then I can't use it. Is there anything? So give me something, because this is. I would actually. I almost
I'm
feel like I
not
need you
I'm
to.
not convinced that we have any rights, but keep going.
Well, this is tricky. Okay, so that might put you in a unique position then. But okay, so
By the way, anybody listening, what's fun about this is we've never talked about this. So we're riffing on what we're coming around is ultimately our purpose, calling, and existence here, and what it all means, and what we're doing, and but yeah, I'm still wrestling with the idea of what are rights. So this is a fun conversation to have
all
on
right.
the cuff and sort of live.
Yeah,
But
what
go ahead,
hopefully we still feel like we can release it. But they okay, so like here's the okay, I'm gonna stick with water because I will
stick with
reject your
water. Yeah.
I'll reject your rejection of that. So
All right.
so here's the thing is so I would say like every human being, so there's like the line like we have to an alienable right to what is it, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness or whatever that is. So in the like constitutional sense, but like let's just say water. So that's life, right? Like you got to be able to stay alive, and you have a right to water. And so then I would say, well, can you replace the idea of a right with the idea of deserve? Like are these synonymous? You deserve water. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. I don't know because this is where entitlement comes in. So, and I don't know that these are all the same thing. So, like, for instance, you have a right to water, as in no one should be able to keep you from getting water, like to block water from you. But that doesn't mean that there is any way in which someone needs to bring water to you, right? Like the water's right there, go get some. But blocking you off from that, I would say, would be a crime against your rights as a human being. Like it would be wrong to cage you and keep you from something as basic as water, or to me, even caging as like the basic freedom of humanity or whatever, right?
But for how long? Until you die?
Sure. Or, what do you mean?
Well, you wouldn't say it would be wrong to keep someone from water for an hour. I mean, this is a terribly and possibly annoyingly philosophical conversation, but
Mm-hmm.
you mean for the sake of life,
Mm-hmm.
right to water to elongate life. Because if someone is comes into our coffee shop tomorrow morning and is being violent with our employees and is demanding water, and he's handcuffed and put in the back of a uh, law enforcement vehicle and is kept from water, we wouldn't say that his rights are being taken away
Oh,
unless he
yeah, yeah,
dies
yeah,
of
yeah.
thirst.
Correct, 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 correct. Yeah, 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 correct. I would agree with that because it's like also I would say there is no demand for water. Like you don't necessarily need. This is what I mean by entitlement. You're not entitled to like I don't have to hand you water, but I can't block you off from access to water in life. In life, yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. And what I'm trying to nuance isn't the concrete specifics of that circumstance or situation as much as the idea of what to me it was just exploring like what is it in me that's reacting to this, and and I do suspect it has something to do with entitlement, and then trying to nuance out like entitlement as opposed to something like rights. Now talking to you is interesting to go, well, I don't even know that I'm convinced there there is such a thing as rights. I would I really struggle with that. Yeah, for sure. Which I imagine as a I mean, go ahead and like explore that. But ultimately, yeah, I do think like this is coming down to like, do you, uh, yeah, what is a thing that is deserved? And this is where I think like, oh, why did I like it in the negative sense? I'm like, well, I think deserve is equivalent to entitlement. in a sense, like whereas punishment has to do with accountability or responsibility. I would say, by the way, if you hired someone in the coffee shop or wherever, and you said, if you work, you'll get this much for every hour that you put in today. At the end of the day, let's say that's how pay cycles work or whatever. At the end of the day, they are entitled to that money that they worked for and they deserve that paycheck. So this is where I'm like, oh, I think this is where I'm like, oh, I think it is a synonym not to rights but to entitlement. And like anyway, this is me just exploring like what is the thing in me that's happening and can I articulate it and does it map to
So if a person comes in and works the last 10 minutes of a shift, do they have the right to be paid the same as the one who worked the entire shift?
it's funny. This is exact parallel of the parable, right? No, no, and this is the point that the people who came in earlier were making, especially if the agreement was hourly. But if the agreement was, it depends what the agreement was. Like, so in the story, it's like I could pay you whatever I want to pay you above and beyond what is entitled to you. But if in my state, for instance, there is a minimum wage set by law so that I cannot employ this person in my shop under a certain pay rate, which I would love to exceed as possible, I go, cool. We agree that you're going to work and get 16 bucks an hour or 20 bucks an hour or whatever that is. And you put in 3 hours, then you just go number times three. You deserve that. That would actually be to me. I don't think I would have the reaction that I would have the same reaction in me because it does then map to something like entitlement.
Yeah.
Like you are entitled to the thing that you were promised, right? And then that what that does is it helps kind of define like, well, what are you entitled to? And you're like, I can only really expect what was explicitly committed. This is where like expectations are only honestly, I would say are only helpful or healthy when it was an agreement. Like I can expect you on this call at the time you told me to because you told me to. But any expectation of like how beyond that, beyond the agreed explicit promises, would be, the 12 steps say like resentment under construction or premeditated resentment because it's like these are not fair expectations. I don't know. Tell me what you're hearing.
A lot. Yeah. And I like where this is going because I have a thought. So like the right to water or the right to education or the right to speak freely. Um, how do you how do you ensure those rights for people?
Yeah, I have no idea. This is well, and I love this because this is kind of the question of like, what is the city that we long for, right?
Well, don't go there yet. Hold
Okay,
on.
okay, okay. I
I'm
know we're
trying,
setting this up, but it's an obvious connection in the question. So
but
I could.
you do know though. I want to, my
How
argument
is
is
it done in the world within which we live by
sure,
power
but
of enforcement? But if you're
right.
asking me, if you're asking
But
me,
that to me, that's not a right. So what I'm saying is I'm drawing a distinction. And
yep.
maybe it's too soon. Maybe we could have ended the whole conversation with this, but my unction is
Oh no, this is the kid. I mean, it's all that. It's like we don't
I
need to
always
land
want
on
to
it as a
right.
punchline.
I just always want to get there as soon as possible is I actually I'm not sure, okay? So I'll let others in on the journey, but in the world system, whatever system is ruled by the principalities and powers, oh, anybody can call it whatever they want.
Mhm.
I I'd love for somebody to prove to me that we have rights. I don't think we have any rights. I think we just have whatever force or enforcement tells us we can have in whatever setting that is, because there is no authority other than force. So if you say you deserve water, any stronger force than you can take that water from you. And rights always change. Rights change throughout every epic of the kind of Babylonian story. And what we say is a right now was certainly not a right 200 years ago because
Oh, right.
force said it wasn't a right. What I'm arguing, or what I'm like marveling over, is that I don't think rights or privileges or whatever word we can, and I'm not making them synonymous. I am making them in the same family. Value, virtue has never changed since the beginning of creation in a kingdom ecosystem. And it's not brought about by force, but it's brought about by love
Mm-hmm.
and by um, the value of that city, or the ethos of that city. So when you submit yourself to the, like, even the parable of the worker who worked less than the other worker, I'll kind of contend that we don't know the story, the whole story. What Jesus was just giving us was the outcome. What if the worker had worked at another time? What if he knew the worker's story and he knew that this worker had, I know I'm getting a little mushy here, but what if he knew that this worker had bills to pay and he was paying him in advance for work he was going to do in the future? What he was saying to the one who had worked the whole day is, you don't have authority here. I do. And I know the whole story. And so I can pay this guy the same as you. What you were paid, you deserve. But you're saying what he was paid, he doesn't deserve. And I'm saying he does. And whatever I say is deserved is deserved. And
Ooh.
that's the overarching spirit of a brave city. Is Jesus has already given us the answers. We can't come in and deem that women are less than men. We can deem that they're different for sure. We can deem that they're more delicate. We can deem that children are worth just as much as adults and worth protecting and worth nurturing. We can deem that fatherless are almost more valuable in some sense, in like a strange considerational sense,
Yep.
like consider the fatherless, consider the widow. He never says consider the middle-aged man with a full-time job that's doing well.
Yeah.
And it's not that we shouldn't be considered, it's that he knows the playing field is off.
Yep.
And so when he draws attention to the ones down here, all it does is level it. But we think, man, there sure seems to be partiality for the poor and the widow. No, there's not. He understands the imbalance. And so um his tell me if I say this right, accentuation of consideration levels them. Same thing with the worker in the field. I guess what I would say right now, I don't even know if I wasn't quite prepared for this conversation, but I guess what I would say is we do have rights in a kingdom ecosystem, and they're only the rights that the Father has, quote unquote, bestowed upon us. Rights of value, of dignity, of consideration, of honor, water. I don't think we have any rights in Babylon. I think we only have
Well, okay.
what force tells us we can have.
I'm super glad we got here through. This was perfect because that's what rights are. So even in the way it's written, even in like a document like the Constitution or whatever, it's like the they are inalienable rights bestowed by it's a transcendent it's an acknowledgement of a transcendent reality. Like this is something that power should not and cannot strip from you. It cannot be. It's inalienable. It cannot be taken away. The right.
Yeah, but it is what I'm
But it
saying.
is no, no,
It's
no,
a
no, no.
lie.
This is what a human rights
The
movement.
what did you just reference? The Constitution?
Hmm?
They lied.
No, no, no. I understand this. I understand this.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of the point I'm making. And so then a human rights movement, an effort on behalf. So this is where you do see signals of this trying to be. This is what activism has been trying to do is to go. It's the idea of truth to power. We're going to call you into. This is what the civil rights movement was. So in here's a check this out. I'll give you one that I. This is a drum I beat all the time. Let's use legal. Like I have like the Florida statutes here. These are really old ones, but in the Florida statutes, and all of our cities, municipalities, and states will have a. I have it marked in this one somewhere. It doesn't matter. It's the Human Rights Ordinance. We all have one, and so basically there are protections in law. And you're right, because in the law, what they're doing is this is around force. What will be enforced, right? So according to that, there are protections for segments of the population for whom there have often been oppressive or detrimental behavior from power. So you cannot. It'll say like you cannot discriminate against this person, this human being, because of their race, their religion, their gender, their sexuality, and I'm not gonna, but it's a, and then it's a, there's like it encompasses all of the categories for which so many people have been discriminated against. It's a great ordinance. It's like it in intention. Here's the thing that's interesting to me. So in my own city, and I brought this up with like city leaders, and I'm like, dude, this is crazy. So you know what is not protected? So it's interesting if you read it and you just go, what's not here? What's not here is housing status. What's not here is economics. So I cannot discriminate against you because you're a a black woman with a disability that is also gay. None of those reasons, but you're poor. So I can absolutely discriminate against you because you're poor, because you're without a home. And because economics is actually functionally more our God, we like talk about it as if it is an entity with a, and by the way, it might actually be an entity with a will of its own that has an invisible hand that moves our society. But because of that entity, or because of that reality, we can discriminate. And so the human rights ordinances, civil rights, do not apply because of economic disparity. By the way, interestingly, all of those protected classes are disproportionately economically disadvantaged because of the historical realities of the way that Babylon or power functioned, right? So, okay. So I'm trying to get back to that. I just think that's an interesting and fascinating thing that is in like, so you're like, well, yeah, but they lie. Like, this is what I'm saying is like this ordinance is a lie and it's subtle. It's like, yeah, but also there's a workaround. It's like the amendment that goes, you can't have slavery unless you're a criminal, right?
Mhm.
Because if you're a criminal, then so what we do is we just move these people into criminal class. We go, oh, you're a criminal. Now we can put you in the prison system and force labor upon you. This is how we like did these things historically. It's like I just think back to like the Babylon is a shrewd trader kind of thing. It's like, yeah. Sure. We'll honor these rights. But to your point is like, okay, but in reality, in the kingdom ecosystem, the Father has given us these honors, these rights, these values, these things that are like, and so then in the world that we dream of, in the city that we pray for, the in that prayer, your kingdom come, your will be done, like here in my city as it is in heaven. What I think we're calling upon is like if Jesus is Lord, first of all, the implication of this, and this is where like the anarchy stuff comes in for me, is that nobody else is. Nobody else is, just Jesus. And we recognize like human beings should be free, and in their freedoms they are held responsible We're responsible for what we do with our freedom, but we should freely honor one another's dignity and recognize one another's dignity. We should freely share with those that have need around us. We should freely welcome those without families into our families. We should so then all of the things that we've ever talked about, it's like we embody his lordship in full freedom. So I think of like, you familiar with the political compass, that like square where at the top, so it's four quadrants, and at the top is what you'd write authoritarian, and at the bottom libertarian. And it's not libertarian the way it's used, like the way we think of libertarians. Those are more like on the right of the spectrum. But just think top bottom, think like no authority, libertarian, authoritarian, dictator, authoritarian, and then left and right. And so and that's more of an economic scale, private property versus shared ownership, something like that. And so when you plot like every single, let's say Republican, Democrat, whatever, in United States history, all of it is authoritarian right. So our like liberal leftist version of that is actually still in authoritarian right on that spectrum. And what people would call libertarian, and by the way, what people call communism, socialism, whatever, is usually authoritarian left, because a Babylonian structure, in some sense, can only speak in the language of like authoritarian power structure, use of violence and force. And so to me, I go, well, kingdom resembles the moving away from, it's like there is no power other than the power of God. There is no authority other than the lordship of Jesus. And then in the question is how much we move toward individualistic or communitarian. And so in my mind, I actually do think at some philosophical level, if I'm going to plot myself politically, it's like libertarian left at some, which is called anarchist, is just like, yeah, like free individuals freely choosing to live in community and share what we have, and take care of our neighbors and one another. And I think like, what do you call that if you plot it on a political spectrum? I don't run around going, I'm this thing, but I think that's where it maps to. If you plot it on what's called the what there's a tool called the political compass. You can go online and take a little quiz and find out where you plot or whatever. And um, what do we think? That was a lot.
Well, where you were ending is funny. I'm like, yeah, that's the that's the garden where cults thrive.
Oh, I also
Um,
think it is the garden in the beginning and the kingdom in the end, though.
well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like that version of it's every
I know. Yeah, yeah,
version.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Are you familiar with the idea of common grace?
Yeah. Like this is like in like the, you mean like in the conversation of like, rather than like this is like maybe in like an Armenian sense, prevenient grace. This is the grace that is available to everyone. Kind of that. This is the concept.
Yeah,
Yep.
yep.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm kind of starting there and I might botch this, but I want to draw like a parallel. So like a stream of the common grace idea is when you practice the ways of Jesus apart from Jesus, you actually will reap the fruit of Jesus, like peace,
Hmm.
um, prosperity, for
So
sure.
let me ask you a quick question just to make sure I'm tracking. So someone apart from the way of Jesus or knowing about Jesus might call this karma.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
for
could be like,
sure.
yeah, like I share with my neighbors and good things happen. And it's
And
like,
they're right.
and you're
They're
like, it's
right.
good business. Yep, right, right.
So I want to that's a personal, I'm going to do a political version of that
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
because ultimately this is going to sound incredibly like beyond pessimistic. It's going to sound fatalistic,
Okay.
but it is fatalistic in a sense. Because where I'm getting to, I'm going to go ahead and preface, like I'll prequel what I'm saying, is I'm saying you cannot negotiate with Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, that's my posture here, and that's kind of what this conversation is about.
It is.
is can we negotiate with Babylon? Which is funny because I was having a text conversation with one of my great friends last night about this exact thing. I didn't know this was where the conversation was going to go today, but I do hope that this will strike a chord with some people in the kingdom, pursuit community, in the Brave City community.
Mhm.
Um, what I think good people have tried to do, because I think there are so many good people, man. Most people, even in politics, I think most people either started out good or they are good. I can't pinpoint individuals in the education system. Forgive me, brothers and sisters, but in the church
Mhm.
system, in the we've been talking about this a lot in our life, in the youth sports system.
Mhm.
Let's just say one more. I've been delineating a lot lately between the mammon system and a manna lifestyle,
Mhm.
which I think deserves more conversation because I don't think a manna lifestyle. Put a pin in this, but I don't think a manna lifestyle is just give me what I need for today. I think mammon, government, education, church, youth sports, let's take those. I don't know why I throw in youth sports because it's just so freaking toxic and so overwhelming in how submitted it is to the powers now that I recognize it in my life and my rhythms because all my kids play sports. In those systems, you cannot create another system and negotiate with it to bring about the kingdom of heaven. You can only come out of her lest you take part in her sins.
Mhm.
So, what does that look like? I don't know. We're trying to figure that out every day
This is the conversation. This is, yeah,
with every system that is ruled. Deuteronomy, help me out, 28, 32.
32.
That it 32 that is being given authority to the powers. Let's pretend that there were 72 of them originally. Are you frozen or are you looking down? Okay,
Oh,
great. No, that's good. I thought we had just lost you. Well, okay, I'm all over the place, but
you're good.
he who has ears, let him hear and stay with me. In the common grace analogy, what what we believe in every religion, in every practice of good, in every political activist fight, is that Jesus was right. Whether people know that or not,
Yeah.
that's what they believe. They believe Jesus was right, and they're trying to get close to that reality. I think that happens in politics too. I think whether it's communism, socialism, capitalism, um, those three in particular, all three of them are incredibly broken and undoubtedly will always oppress the poor.
Mhm.
All three of them. But they're trying at some level. The origin was we think Jesus was right. So he who works hard, he who doesn't work should not eat. Capitalism. We find all things in common and share among one another. Communism. Uh, Blessed are the poor, for they are rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom. Um, the Father sent me to bind up the brokenhearted and preach good news to the poor. Socialism. Those are off the cuff.
Sure, sure, sure.
The ways of Jesus, the teachings of Jesus pushed us to these political systems. Which one is better? I frankly do not care at all because I believe personally there's one way, and that's the way of Jesus. And I think you and I slightly disagree on this because I'm a little more extreme in this, but I think the world system is a runaway train and it's pulling it's pulling us behind it. And every activist effort we put forward to try to stop it is like this little pine fence we're building on the track to try to slow it down. And all it does is blast right through it. Jesus talks about this in Matthew 12. This is my interpretation of Matthew 12 when he says, you came in and you cast out a demon, a power, a principality that ruled here, but you didn't do anything. You didn't change anything. You swept it clean, but you left it empty. So
Yep.
all it did was return with seven more
Yep.
stronger than itself.
That's
And
yep.
we've seen this play out throughout history without fail.
It's every single time, right? This is right. And I would argue because of the use of force and violence. That like the mechanism is like
But
the
that's the
ends have to be
way.
contained within the means.
But see, that's the way. That's what I'm saying. People say don't use power. And I say that's the only way
It's the
to
only
bring up.
it is this is it's funny, not funny, funny like not but like it is our actual religion.
It's our
Like it's
religion.
the only thing you actually believe in.
And the only possible way, so this to be clear, the only possible way to bring about rights in Babylon is force and power, is war. The way to bring about what I would call not rights, but something else, something better than that, like like the
Honor.
value, honor, the
Yeah.
value of the Imago Dei on us in the kingdom of heaven is love and servanthood.
Mm-hmm.
And that only happens in a brave city or in a kingdom ecosystem or in a kingdom economy. This is something that I have found personally is virtually impossible to communicate to 99% of um, of men and women who want the things of the kingdom is you can't negotiate with Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
She's just too shrewd of a traitor. When you think you've ended chattel slavery, she just fools you,
Mm-hmm.
and she destroys an entire lineage. And according to the data I've read, I haven't done the exhaustive study myself, so correct me if I'm wrong. But according to our 13th Amendment in this country, this is just an example. If you are a prisoner of the state, you are in fact a slave, correct? Like you're owned. Is that sort?
There is I don't know, let me find it, but like there is like a unless in cases of crime, yeah, like it doesn't say it as explicitly, but it's like involuntary servitude, slavery, these are out. Yeah, maybe you're a prisoner,
Right.
right? Like unless
Now
you're a
look,
criminal.
I'm not even getting into that bucket right now because that's not, I'm not interested in the conversation of criminality and the prison system and the prison industrial complex. That's another conversation.
Okay.
So if people get caught up in that, then you're wasting your time. That's not the point. The point is Babylon never gave up involuntary servitude. She just twisted it. And now there are apparently more involuntary servants than there were 250 years ago.
Well, and yeah, and I would
Is that
actually I would
does that
actually
sound accurate?
it does, even in terms, as far as I understand, and again, I don't. Some of this is reference to things that we've are aware of through other places, but like with the global kind of perpetuation of actual involuntary servitude and slavery. But I would take it even further to say, like, also though, this is what is this is what indebtedness, just economic indebtedness, is creating, even in people that would say I'm entirely like I'm free out here, but like I'm in debt servitude, late wage slavery kind of thing, in a
Right.
thing like I
Sure.
am
Sure.
actually not free to ever stop this thing. Which, even just bringing it back to like conversations we've had around like the pastor who wishes he could get out of this system but has a family to feed and goes, I'm chained to this thing. It's like the mechanisms of these systems have actually set it
Well,
up to
that's
where it's like
even
you're
that's even
enslaved in this.
That's even deeper than what I was going. What I'm saying is if the poor and the oppressed and the, what did you say earlier? Those who don't have homes, like the
Unhoused, yeah. What?
the
Poor.
unhoused, the fatherless, if they're, because the world system always seeks to oppress the poor, no matter what. I've done my fair share of observation and study of like, how has this ever looked different? And it's never looked different. And again, certain political systems are trying to make it better because I think there are good people who say, I think if we do it this way, it could work. But apart from submission to Jesus and his ways, which is love and servanthood, becoming less, not greater, which by the way, I don't know if that can work in this world. I don't know. I don't know how to survive. I live in a country that we are free in large part, or wouldn't you say only because of our extensive force in the world. Like we are a military superpower.
Mhm.
And so by power and force, we get to kind of live in a pretty free existence.
Mhm.
So I feel hypocritical on some level, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying is you cannot negotiate with Babylon. You can't. Every time you think that you've brought about change without the kingdom being uncovered and acknowledged and submitted to in your economy, in your holistic economy, seven more will eventually return stronger than the one that you think you cast out. And the reason I'm so passionate about this is because I think our best workers in the world, our most passionate activists, our most gifted negotiators are trying to negotiate with Babylon, and she's just laughing at them.
Okay, let me ask you a question because you use this reference of like you're building little like a runaway train and you're setting up little like picket fences that is just crashing through. And when you said that, and by the way, I agree with you as best I understand what you're saying. I agree with you. Like this is not like, and this is actually an interesting question around like this is like the building an alternative versus like going believing in reform. Like we're gonna come in and like we're gonna just turn the dials enough that the train is gonna slow down, turn around on the track, and move in the direction of the kingdom or something like that instead of doom and destruction and violence and whatever. And going, yeah, that's not a thing. All right, this quote came to mind when you talked about the runaway train and the pine fence, though. Dietrich Bonhoeffer is quoted as having said or written, it is not just the job of Christians to bandage the wounds of those crushed under the wheels of oppression, but to jam a spike into the wheel itself.
Mm.
And so this is interesting to me, and where I feel like there's a tension in the thing, because it isn't just that we go, well, there's an alternative way and we're going to live this alternative thing, but there also is like this call to stand, to put ourselves in the gears of the machine, to
Mm.
actually, to, you understand, to lay our lives down in opposition to the powers that are crushing.
Ab-
You get what I'm getting at? So it's like, this isn't to say, yeah, ultimately you may put your life there and it functionally be a picket fence in the way of this runaway train. And yet there's like this defiant, like hope as protest posture that does have some relationship to that runaway train or the gears of that machine. And I just wanted to hear how you might react to that as a nuance to
yeah,
this.
I think it's crazy, but I think I don't agree, or at least I have a more evolved or developed idea of what we should do. I think it's like, I wish I'd have prepped a good analogy, but it's like empty calories almost.
Okay.
I think the better idea is we build small switch tracks that offer the opportunity for those cars being pulled by that train. The train, the locomotive is
Yeah.
the
Okay.
world system.
That's very good, by the way. That's not a bad analogy.
And
That's
we
good.
build, and these are the brave cities. And it's not force, there's no requirement. And there never was with Jesus. It's just an opportunity, it's an offering.
Well, that's the only way that it can be because of the very beginning of going, you are created to be free. And because you are created to be free, you should not be compelled or coerced or enforced. Like it's like you get to freely choose to change citizenship, to move, to choose the switch
That's
track.
it. That's it. And that's what makes it so magnificent is whether it's in this life or the next, this city, this holy city, the word holy means set apart. This city that is set apart is available for you. And
Let me try.
I'll end with this, everything in my life, every practice in my life, I tend to develop an obsession of I want it in this city. I don't like it over here. And when I start practicing it over here, what I find myself doing is submitting to the authority of the principalities and powers.
Yeah.
And I can't. I'm like, I'm out, bro. I got to figure something else out. And so
Yeah.
that's my like life's work is how can we have these cities if others want out? If you want out, they're available for you. You're
So,
not required. You're not shamed. You're not like, oh, I can't believe you go to a private school, or I can't believe you attend a church thing on Sunday. No, none of that's bad or less than or anything. But we come to places, all of us, where we say, I think I want out of this and I don't know where to go. So I'm just going to homeschool my kids. And I'm like, I don't think that's the answer because that's just for you. But what's available for us, for the community or for the movement or whatever it may be, whether it's money, career, education, sports, government. Now, look, render to Caesar what is Caesar's always. That's not my point. And if you don't get that part, not you, John, but whoever's
I
listening,
understand.
then we got to talk longer. But these switch tracks are the vision behind Brave Cities, that the cart that's being pulled that has no way to stop, it can do this.
Okay. Let me try something based on where we started. So I think you've said as much is like everyone, regardless of the frame, whether they know Jesus at some level, and you're like all the political efforts, they're like human beings long for this kingdom city. Like with whatever words they would use, you go, people long for this, right?
Everyone.
Everyone longs for this. Good. Okay. I have a series of questions I wanted. So then you would say, okay, and like even you were created for this. There's a reason you long for this. You were created for this. Um, and then I would almost say like, well, and then would you say that you deserve this?
Mhm.
Uh,
Um,
or you have a right to this, or you deserve this, or you are entitled to this. And I would say, actually, maybe a right. You have a right to freely choose this, even if you don't have a switch track to choose it. It's still like bail, like jump off and roll to your death. That's your right, freedom to get off of this train. Um, and this is where I think like, well, we all deserve the kingdom city. I'm like, man, I don't know about that. That's where I would like flinch to go like, we long for it, we're created for it. We have a
that's what I
right
was
to
going to
opt
say.
out of this
We're
thing,
we're
but
created for it.
but we're now we have to be invited into it and freely choose it. So that changes from a deserve or entitled to go, actually, it is up to us. So no obligation, no requirement, no shame, invitation only. And that I just wanted to do my best to kind of bring us back to go, hey, I wonder if this was connected in any way to these like first words we started with. And man, I love the image of building the switch tracks. It's super helpful to go, let's get out ahead of this, put in real work. This is like the call to the apostles and prophets. Like, only, I don't know that everyone is going to be out laying track, you know, but for
No,
those that
for
can
sure.
build those tables, to
No.
know that everyone on this train, whether they know it or not, when the alternative is presented to them, they want off this train. They want to come back home. They long for the Kingdom City.
Mm.
And we hope to be able to build that. Anyway, this was awesome, dude. I'm actually glad we didn't know where we were going, and appreciate you riffing on this with me. I mean, for me, it's just like, again, like back to like, I just wanted to explore some impulse, because a lot of times you go, oh, that was silly, and sometimes you go, that got us to a nuance, that got us to something we didn't haven't
Yeah.
articulated.
I would say to anyone who's listening, send this to any activist, any um, purist, any pursuer of good things that you know. You'll be hard pressed. Whoever's listening, whoever you send this to is listening. You'd be hard pressed to disagree. Uh, Everything that you long for, if you just get down to even the terrible things, like let's say you long for what's something terrible. I don't want to say it out loud. Like let's say you long for sex with thousands of women. What you actually long for is just intimacy and connection and um, deeper things. Let's say you long to have thousands and thousands of people serve you and work for you and do all of your I'm talking about the worst of the worst type of people. Your longing is tainted and is um has been poisoned, but what you actually long for is just freedom. That's all that is. You just want freedom. And the world has convinced you that freedom is this far gone. Now for the normal person
Mm.
that it is mostly day in and day out trying to practice good things, everything in life that you long for is found within the kingdom ecosystem. It's just found in a different way than we've been told since the systems that we know have come under the authority of principalities and powers that only seek to oppress. They really seek to oppress everyone, but their way of really glorifying themselves is to oppress the weak
Mm.
and the outcast. That's how they receive the most glory. And that's why Jesus came to set the captives free and to lift up the weak and the outcast. It is the very antithesis of the practice of evil. So, yeah, I just think, man, we can't negotiate with Babylon. You can try, do a little inventory, look at your life, look at the things that you've accomplished, and if you're honest with yourself, you can go, man, I think that seven more returning stronger than itself, that Matthew 12 thing is real.
Hmm. This was good, man. I'm glad we made some time to riff today.
Yeah. Appreciate it, dude. I had no idea what we were going to talk about. I'm still caught up on the deserve thing because it just feels tricky. It almost feels like a word we made up.
Check this out. I looked up the etymology. D is Latin prefix meaning completely, and servire is a Latin term meaning to serve. Originally, the Latin de servire meant to serve zealously or to devote oneself to service of. Over time, the meaning evolved to imply that by providing complete or zealous service, one earns right to be rewarded. And so now means to be entitled to or worthy of something based on one's actions, qualities, or past service.
Oh, here's the point. This is perfect. It's the same idea. something evil changed it. So when you use the word now, it's like I don't even like that word. It doesn't seem like a real word. If we go back to the etymology of it, for me, I go, that's it. Yes, that's right.
Right.
But when you use it how it has
Well,
evolved,
because
I
now it's
go,
about merit, the cosmic scale that I was talking about.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like, what is that? And why are we using this? And
I don't, that's why you don't like the word because the word is wrong.
yeah,
It's not a good
it
word.
feels wrong.
Yeah.